Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ambassador's Lounge. The co-host for today's program is Ambassador Ayaz Muhammad Khan, and we are privileged to have with us today a very special guest, Ambassador Javed Hafeez, who is an Arabic specialist. In fact, he's a specialist in Arabic language, culture, literature, civilization. His last assignment was as Ambassador of Pakistan to Oman. He also served in Pakistan embassies in Damascus, Amman, Saudi Arabia, where he served for 7.5 years. While at headquarters, Mr. Javed Hafeez was Additional Secretary Middle East. Sir, welcome to the Ambassador's Lounge.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know that after months of negotiations, ceasefire has finally implemented in the Gaza. But does that mean it's a permanent end to war? Does it mean that peace has finally come to Gaza? Well, not many people think so, particularly the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who reportedly told his cabinet that Israel will go to war after stage 1 of the ceasefire. Now, the contours of ceasefire, of the deal rather, was decided in May by Mr. Joe Biden, the former US president. And Israel Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu, he continued to evade the ceasefire on various pretexts. He continued to shift the goalposts. Resultantly, death and destruction reigned in Gaza. Ladies and gentlemen, the story of Gaza is blood-soaked and tear-stained. More than 47,000 Gazans lost their lives. In fact, the number could be much more, as the Gazans who finally are moving towards the city, they uncover the dead bodies from the debris, and more than 100,000 have been injured. Of the 36 hospitals in Gaza, only 40% are partially functioning. 70% of all buildings have been destroyed or damaged. 92% of homes are either destroyed or damaged. 88% of schools have been destroyed. 70% of road network has been destroyed. There's complete destruction of a sanitation system and electricity services. Now, this survey was carried out by none else but the US agency. Now, while Gazans celebrate the ceasefire, the question is, how permanent is this agreement? There are differences between the two sides, and there are contentious issues which have to be discussed. So these are some of the issues which we will take up with our guest, Mr. Javed Hafeez. Sir, once again, let me welcome you to our show. Sir, Donald Trump has claimed credit for pushing the ceasefire over the line. Now, according to one political analyst, Trump's involvement was the 10 cents missing for the dollar. Whereas Times of Israel writes that Trump's envoy swayed Netanyahu more in one meeting than Biden did all the year. So this was the same deal which was prepared and announced by Joe Biden back in May. Why did the deal not work at that time?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to the Ambassador's Lounge. And why the deal did not work earlier and came into effect now is we all know that Netanyahu leads a fragile coalition. He is extreme right-wing, warmonger, a person who likes war much more than peace, and in fact, war in Gaza gave him a lease of life because there were so many allegations of corruption against him. And his own government, as I said, was made up of many parties. It could not last very long unless he got the victory that he wanted. And as you have already said, it has been a tragedy, human tragedy of colossal proportions, death and destruction. We have got given all the details. After accomplishing these, if we call it accomplishment, he has shown to his people that he has finished, in his mind, the Palestinian problem. His next goal is to annex the West Bank and to finish this two-state solution forever. That is what he's aiming at. And as we all know, the ceasefire is only for 6 weeks.
Exactly.
And after that, what happens? Nobody knows. But the general estimate is that it is very fragile. It may continue, it may not continue. But the fact that Gaza has been reduced to a rubble, and through death and destruction, a lesson has been taught to the peaceful people of Gaza. I was reading this morning that one Hamas leader has confessed that 7th of October 2023 was a miscalculation.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of thinking is also sinking in. Whether the ceasefire will continue beyond those 6 weeks remains to be seen.
But sir, Mr. Donald Trump, he has claimed this ceasefire as his diplomatic victory. Do you think the role which Mr. Trump played in bringing about this ceasefire, was it pivotal?
I don't think so. It was the ceasefire was coming for a long time. Of course, Trump is much more decisive than President Biden, but don't forget that he is equally, if not more, pro-Israel than Biden. So he has not done it for any love for the Palestinians, but to show to the world that he is a man of peace, that he can get things done. He's a go-getter. So the ultimate, the trophy of peace, which could have easily gone to Biden, whose administration had also been working all along, has now gone to Trump.
Yes? Yeah, okay. Sir, I would like to go back to the peace agreement itself. The way it has been structured, it's 3 phases, as we all know about that. And it is being said that after the first phase, the negotiations for the second phase, which have to be carried out within 16 days, since the implementation of the ceasefire, are going to be too complicated, which of course involve that complete demilitarization of the Gaza Strip. Whereas the Israeli Defense Forces are asserting that they are not going to evacuate the Philadelphia corridor because they do not want their hostages to be transported outside the Gaza Strip, and also under the pretext that weapons should not be brought in through Gaza, for Hamas once again. Now, it is also being said by pessimists, all over the world, that the way it is structured, it is prone to spoilers, and people are not very sanguine about it, that it is going to go beyond first stage. What are your takes about that, sir?
The general assessment is that it is very fragile, that the second phase which you pointed out, is going to be very tedious and complicated, not very easy to achieve. And the third phase, I believe, is the
Reconstruction.
reconstruction and humanitarian assistance.
Yeah.
So it would need a lot of work, not only by the powers that be, but also the United Nations, to achieve a smooth achievement of objectives in Gaza, because it's not going to be, I entirely agree, it's not going to be easy. Total demilitarization of Gaza, again, is something which is not easy to achieve, because Hamas has been defeated, but it has not been finished.
Yes.
And there is, one can see that Hamas still has a lot of fight left in it. And there is, if you talk to an average Palestinian, he wants to take the revenge for those 48,000 people killed and 100,000 injured, and
2 million displaced, of course.
displaced within that narrow strip. And don't forget, for now almost 16 months, people living without ceilings, without homes. 90% of the people are without homes, without medical aid, without humanitarian assistance. So the peace is not going to come through this agreement. This is a step towards that. It is welcome, but it is because yesterday only in Davos, the Secretary General said that Israelis want to annex the West Bank.
Yep.
So that shows that the ultimate or a just solution is not very near. So please go ahead.
Sir, this stage 2, or sticking with what Ayaz has asked you, stage 2, it envisages end of war. Now, end of war would imply that both sides go to peace, that the Palestinians, they abandon their right to self-determination. Do you think that is going to happen? They have sacrificed so much. How can war end if there is no permanent solution to the Palestinian cause?
No, the war cannot end. The war may end temporarily, but there is no permanent solution unless the rights of the Palestinian people are given to them. And to say that this land was promised to the Jews in Old Testament, it does not hold much water. That way, I think the entire world, the entire globe would go topsy-turvy. There's so many people who have, migrations have taken place in recent years. The United States and Canada and Latin America and Australia and New Zealand were colonized in the last 3-4 centuries. So how would you decide who has should America only belong to the Red Indians?
Exactly. So do you think this ceasefire was structured to fail? Because it provides beyond stage 1, it does not provide any solution to the Palestinian issue. Now, Bibi Netanyahu, he has told his cabinet, again reportedly, that he will go to war after stage 1. And his finance minister, Smotrich, who is ultra right wing, he has said to the press that he has been told by the prime minister that the war will resume after stage 1. And Netanyahu has also said that Biden and Trump has assured, and both of them have assured him that he can return to war. So do you think that it was structured to fail?
No, that is all what he said is ominous, and does not augur well for peace in the region. He is, all his sayings, he has been, as you know, the International Criminal Court
Exactly.
had issued his warrants. But unfortunately, we live in a world in which the world order is not run according to any principles or justice or morality. Whereas, there is a dichotomy. Whereas the Palestinian cause has received a lot of sympathy, not only in the Muslim countries, but more so in the West. There were huge demonstrations in London and New York and Washington.
Exactly, sir.
It is for the first time that, people are talking about Palestine in the corridors of power in the Western capitals.
Certainly.
But on the other hand, we have the leaders in Israel, in the United States, who are talking of another war. This is something which is very dangerous. Unfortunately, the UN may try but may not be able to be effective again because of the veto that is enjoyed by the United States and other parts. So let's wait and see. I think the Arabs and the Palestinians have already suffered a lot. They don't deserve more sufferings.
Sir, but the Arabs, we have not seen Arabs put up a stand in favor of the Palestinians against the Israelis. They have just been sitting on the side, just watching the killing of the genocide which is being carried out against the Palestinians.
That is most unfortunate. Well, we know that something called Arab nationalism. Arab nationalism has been dying a slow death since long. I would say it started with the demise of Jamal Abdel Nasser, and then formalized at Camp David. And after that, what has emerged in the Arab world is not Arab nationalism, but Arab states.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, you're right.
Each Arab state for itself, and we see emergence after Nasser. We see emergence of Baath Party in Syria and Iraq, but even those they cannot. They were actually a camouflage for dictatorial regimes, which were as callous and cruel as anybody can be. Therefore, a united Arab stand has been totally missing. Every country is for itself. They want to save their own skins. They want to save their own governments. The countries that are effective now are those which are monarchies. They want to save their family rules. Now, we all know which those countries are.
Exactly, sir.
Now, those countries that could stand up to Israel were Egypt, Syria, Iraq, and fourth, you may say, Libya. Those countries have been, through the Arab Spring, one by one finished or weakened beyond recognition. Syria is the latest addition. Now these countries, be it Iraq, be it Libya, be it Syria, or even Egypt, they cannot stand up to Israel. Israel is a power to be reckoned with in the region now, followed by Turkey.
Exactly, sir.
Sir, so I'd like to draw your attention towards Iran factor in this whole mix of Middle Eastern politics. Iran has a bloody nose now. It has been attacked twice successively by Israel. Its proxies have either been decimated or they have been decapitated, to a greater extent. Iranian leadership is now actually courting the Trump administration. They are putting the olive branches in the feet of Mr. Trump. Mr. Javad Zarif, while addressing Davos a few days ago, he offered that Iran was ready to renegotiate the nuclear deal once again. There seems to be a division within the Iranian leadership as well as to how to approach the West and the Israeli problem itself. Now, I'd like to have your views, sir. Is it the way Iran is now behaving, is it an indication or reflection of its weakness? How it is seeing the situation being unfold in the Middle East and its role in the future politics of the region itself?
Well, as you said, and we all know that the Iranian role has been reduced. And you said it has a bloody nose. Yes, because the Iranian policy was based on what we call the crescent or arch of resistance, starting from Iraq into Syria, into Lebanon, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Iraqi militias, and of course friendship with Assad regime. So that was a circle around Israel, and these were the proxies. Hezbollah being the strongest and most sophisticated. Hamas, as we saw after the 7th of October attack, was also quite sophisticated in many ways.
Yes.
But now all those proxies have been taken care of. And Israel has killed, Hamas leaders within Iran. It has killed Iranian nuclear scientists within Iran. So that means it has a lot of ingress, intelligence ingress in Iran, and Iran is sort of demoralized. But let's not forget that Iran is the oldest empire in the world. Iranians have a lot of pride. They may lie low for a while. And in fact, there are two strands in our Iranian thinking. One is that, okay, we are weak now, so let us talk about peace. Let us talk about the revision of the nuclear agreement. But the other assessment is that Iran would now go towards the nuclear option in a faster way. It has already signed a friendship agreement with Russia, and we have to wait and see whether it is the resistance front in Iran that would prevail or the one that is for peace would prevail ultimately. But I think in the ultimate analysis, when we're talking of many years ahead, Iran would rebound because there will be no peace in Palestine, and the Arab states may again acquiesce into peace with Israel. Some more important countries may join Abraham Accords,
So,
Exactly.
So, Iran, as a champion of the Palestinian cause, still remains there.
Yes,
sir,
yes,
sir, staying with Iran, Mr. Jawad Zarif's statement was quite telling, actually, in the sense that he was trying to tell the Western world, particularly, that Iran is changing now. When he mentioned that the hijab laws in Iran, they have been relaxed, and now women are free to walk without hijab in the streets. And also that about the nuclear weaponization of Iranian program, he said that if Iran wanted to weaponize its program, it could have done long time ago, but it was not an option. Whereas the IAEA chief, he mentioned that Iran has actually recycled its uranium and has enriched to 60%, and it has about a stock of 200 kilograms of enriched uranium right now. Now, adding to that, Trump administration has given almost a green signal to Israel that since the air defense of Iran has been considerably weakened now, it is free whenever it deems appropriate to attack and bomb nuclear sites inside Iran. How do you see this whole situation, sir? It's very interesting, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is interesting, and 60% enrichment is quite a lot, because they say after 30 or 40% going further ahead is not very difficult.
So,
the nuclear option is, to a section of Iranians, very attractive. And in fact, it has, it reflects the Iranian nationalism to a great extent, and the government has been using the nuclear option to play to the Iranian lobby, the public at large. But apart from the hijab issue, let us also not forget that Iran has been facing some very difficult economic issues because of sanctions.
Yeah.
They've been riots over petrol prices.
Yes.
The unemployment is high, and the average Iranian is not happy. He is seething with anger. The general assessment is that Iran may like to go to or may even very much like to go to the nuclear option, but the powers that be will not allow it to succeed ultimately, and the option that you talked about, giving
A green signal to
Israel, Israel
Yeah.
to strike,
Yeah.
if and when
Yeah.
Iran is close to detonation.
Yeah.
I think that would be exercised much before the detonation takes place.
exactly, sir, exactly. So, sir, coming back to the Gaza thing. Now, hours after taking oath as the president of US, Mr. Trump removed sanctions on the previously imposed by the Biden administration on the illegal settlers in the West Bank. And now his UN ambassador nominee, he said Israel has biblical rights to entire West Bank. And his ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, he said there is no such thing as Palestine or West Bank. Now, how do you see this turning up in West Bank, especially when you see the military operations gearing up in West Bank? Jenin is under attack. They are saying that Jenin is being Gaza-fied. Do you think Jenin? Yeah. Do you think Jenin it's going to be an excuse for breaking the ceasefire deal?
Well, could be. All this does not make sense from the international law point of view. Palestinians have been, Palestinian Arabs have been there for more than a millennia. In fact, if you look at the Jewish population in whole of Palestine, including what is Israel today, around 1914, when the First World War ended, and Syria and these countries, Lebanon, they were created, given to the French mandate. The Jewish population was very, very small. It has increased over the period, particularly the significant years being 1948, the year of Nakba or catastrophe.
First Nakba, yes.
Nakba, and then 1967 war, 1973. In all these, the population and of course the Jewish settlements on the West Bank, the population has been increasing. The Palestinians have been pushed out of Palestine. They're living, even now, millions of Palestinians live outside Beirut and Damascus and Amman in the camps. But that does not take away the right of the Palestinians to their own land. Interestingly, any Jew in the world, anywhere, can come and land in Israel today and get Israeli nationality.
Yeah.
From anywhere in the world. But the Palestinian refugees who were expelled out of their homes
As a result of first Nakba.
And then 73 war,
Yes.
67 war and 73 wars, they are not allowed to return.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, what kind of contradiction
The
is that?
refugee problem is still dominates between Palestine and Palestinians and Israelis.
Yes.
Sir, I'd like to carry forward this thought. Sir, United States has been the biggest proponent and supporter of two-state solution in the Middle East. But the enunciations that have been coming out from the Trump administration and its nominees, of various posts, are quite ominous, as you said. They are contradicting this very policy of previous United States administrations about two-state solutions. For example, when Imran mentioned that Ellis Stefanik, their nominee for UN, clearly said that it's a biblical interest. Israel has biblical rights, over West Bank and Gaza. And Huckabee also mentioned, that there is no such thing as Palestinians. And so, how do you think that this is going to have impinge upon the very credibility of United States as the main power, the global power, which is the peace broker? Don't you think that Mr. Trump is going to act against the very image of United States in the world as the global peace broker?
Of course, I think U.S. Has been losing its authority as a moral power in the world because of the contradictory stands taken, and because it has failed to protect the legitimate rights of Palestinians. Yes, it has been losing, because if you go back some years, if it was Camp David or the Oslo Accord, it was making some efforts.
Yes.
Those agreements were signed in the U.S. Yasser Arafat and the Israeli leaders Shimon Peres going there, signing those agreements, Anwar Sadat going there. So it was seen as a country which was seriously working for peace in the Middle East. But slowly and gradually, as we see that those efforts have also receded.
Yes. They're losing interest, you know. Do you say?
I think so. Maybe it is.
They're not losing interest, the priorities are shifting.
Yes, they are. In fact, as Imran said, the priorities are shifting. Number one, they are not as dependent on the Middle East oil as they were, say, 50 years ago. That is number one. Number two, they now think that Israel is now very much in a position to stand up to any Arab country, and no Arab country is now in a position to fight or dictate anything to Israel. Till 1973, in fact, till up to Camp David, the Arabs were in a position to get united and get the resolutions from the UN. Diplomatically, in fact, they have not done badly, in the sense that a large number of UN member states have recognized the Palestinian state as an observer member state. And had it not been to the US opposition, it could have been recognized as a full-fledged member of the United Nations. But it is not only the diplomatic victories that count these days, it is also your victories on ground.
So, how do you think, or what do you think rather would be the US role in Gaza and Middle East in the future?
Well, number one, as we've already seen that Israel has scored some victories. The arch of resistance, or the crescent of resistance, has been broken, and the Israeli, we all know that Israeli and the US interests in the Middle East, they overlap. So whatever has been achieved by Israel in the last few months, particularly since the total debacle in Lebanon and now in Syria, I think it's a big victory for the United States as well. But as I said earlier, the United States has become totally partial. It is no longer seen as a peace broker. It is no longer seen, in fact, its stature as a superpower that would, bring peace based on principles. Principles, be those self-determination, be those return of refugees, be that the two-state solution to which all Arab countries had agreed. All those things look very, very remote now, and I don't think, apparently it may look, the Israeli gain may also look the US gain, and that it is a dominant power now. The Russians are out.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think ultimately, for a superpower to be so partial in a region and against the rights of the people of those lands, I don't think it's going to be good for the US image.
From moral point of view, you're absolutely correct. But Mr. Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, he said that we are going to work to expand Abraham Accords. And Mr. Trump, in a later interview, said that normalization deal with Saudi Arabia might be signed between Israel and Saudi Arabia soon, if not by the end of the year. So, US has a definitive plan as far as Middle East is concerned, and that is expanding Abraham Accord. Your views on that?
Yes, I think now it will try hard to expand the Abraham Accords to some other countries. But now let's also not forget the gulf that is there between the Arab rulers and the Arab people. or what do they say, the Arab street. The Arab street has been seething with anger.
But that has not been reflective, sir. There's no indication of that. You're very right. Logically, you're correct. But there is no indication that the Arabs in general, the people on the street, they are against what their governments are doing. They abhor what has been happening to the Gazans.
Of course, of course. Now, let's not forget, look at Syria.
Sir.
Syrian civil war started in 2011.
Sir.
When it was almost certain that the rebels were going to march into Damascus in 2015, Russia and Iran came to the rescue of Assad family rule. And from 2015 to 2024 December, one saw that the Assad family had regained control completely. That the rebels had been pushed back. Syria was readmitted to the Arab League.
Yes.
Turkey started talking to Bashar al-Assad, and it seemed that the Assad regime had become strong again and stable again. But what we have seen in December, on the 8th of December in Damascus, that a movement that had been going on there for the last 13 years, the fires had not been completely doused. They were lying somewhere silent.
No, simmering, yes, yeah. No.
Yeah, and the fires inflamed again. Yeah. And those flames took away a dynasty which had been there for 54 years.
Exactly, sir. Exactly, sir. Sir, Benjamin Netanyahu has always been claiming that there is no future role for Hamas in any future setup of Gaza. But we see that there have been negotiations with Hamas, and in fact, Hamas is the chief interlocutor as far as implementation of the ceasefire is concerned. Do you think Hamas is a spent force? Do you think there is any future role for Hamas in Gaza?
Of course. Now, if Hamas was a spent force totally, why would they talk to them? They've been talking to them. And in fact, Hamas has played a positive role in bringing peace to Gaza. And Hamas is not finished. It is still there. It still has a lot of popularity in the people of Gaza. And in fact, the people of West Bank as well. Have you ever heard of Mahmoud Abbas, who is actually the president of the Palestinian Authority? No. But talk about Hamas, and you would see a glow in the eyes of any Arab.
Fatah claims to be the true representative of the Palestinians. That's what they have been in recently also. They said we are the true representative, not Hamas. And within the Arab world, sir, they are wary of the Hamas.
There is a reason for that. Hamas resulted from a number of intifadas that started from 2006. An intifada in Arabic is an uprising.
Yes.
And they were just throwing stones on the Israelis, and these turned into mass movements. Al-Fatah we see receding after when the Oslo Accords were not implemented, and Al-Fatah recognized Israel. Since then, Al-Fatah popularity has been receding, and that has been replaced by the popularity of Hamas.
Hamas.
So, if you ask me today who represents, does Al-Fatah represent the Palestinians, I would have my doubts.
So, final question, few words. What Hamas did in October last, 7th of October last, which resulted in so much death and destruction, do you think it was worth it? The uncertainty, the death, I mean, everything, sir. Do you think it was worth it? In the end, who is the victor?
Well, difficult question, but an interesting one also. The death and destruction that it has brought, of course, leads me to say that it was not worth it. Because the Palestinian problem has not been solved. Gaza has been reduced to a rubble. Not only Gaza, but also south of Lebanon has seen a lot of destruction. Syria, as I said, the countries that could stand up to Israel, Syria was the last one, and the Israelis, even after the departure of Bashar al-Assad, made sure that the remaining Syrian air power and air bases were also destroyed. So, the Arab world, or those countries which could stand up to Israel, have literally been defeated, at least for the time being. We don't know what will happen after 10 years. But the way things have been handled, I think this problem is going to continue all our lives, or maybe even beyond.
Sir, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, very interesting discussion. There were a lot of more questions we could have asked Mr. Javed Hafeez. Now, the ceasefire which we see in Gaza, it has brought the genocide to an end. But is this going to be temporary? Is this going to be permanent? Only time will tell. Meanwhile, what we see is the Gazification of Jenin. The IDF, that's Israel Defense Forces, started operations in Jenin, and more than, according to the last attack which they did in Jenin, about 100 people were killed. Now, this is what we see is this is deliberate attempt by Israel to erase a Palestinian culture and Palestinian identity and Palestinian history. We are once again going to witness in West Bank mass displacement, mass destruction, mass killing. But Israel has to realize this thing, that this is not going to guarantee their security, nor will it bring stability and peace to the region. Thank you for watching Ambassador's Lounge, and we will be back.